My name is David Sassower, and I'm the founder of Job Toast. And now we're having Sean come on, who is, big. He's got a lot of things going for him at Pinterest, has a big company going for him. So just wanted to invite him on to have him share his experiences, his lessons to, help people learn from how to build the best career they can build by learning from the best. So Sean, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, David, for having me on.
Yeah. So we can start from the top, So also, so you went to SMU. We used to play basketball together. I got referred to you by a friend, so definitely good at basketball. But at SMU, so what was your major at SMU?
I was a computer science major and I also minored in statistical science.
Okay, and it was a good experience.
Yeah, I loved my time there. I learned a ton. Yeah, it was a good time overall.
Yeah. So we can get right into your career. Honestly, we've got a lot of stuff to touch on. So, I see you were a two-time software engineer intern at Lyft, correct?
I was.
Yeah. So how was that experience? Like, what did you do for those 2 summers? And just you can kind of go over all the stuff you did.
Right. So my first summer at Lyft, I was remote working in Dallas.
Mhm.
And I was on, I can't remember the name of the team, but it was a more product focused team. And I was basically working on something for the internal tax team, the way that they process taxes for rides and stuff like that. It was my first time dealing with different technologies that I wasn't used to and really understanding software systems. And it was a huge learning experience. And it was the first major internship. It was the first real internship that I had at a major company, and it was just a lot to learn. Like it was one of those moments that you just take in everything, you just ask a ton of questions. But there's also, you want to make a good impression. So you're trying to prove that you know your stuff as well. So and then the second internship, that was actually in Seattle. And that was for an infrastructure team. And that was a lot of fun because it was an opportunity for me to first, I was a junior, or yeah, I just finished my junior year. And junior year is kind of the time where you in computer science you kind of learn the bulk of the foundations of computer science. So I was a bit more confident going into this internship, also considering the fact that I interned with them before. So I had some
Mhm.
skin in the game. Um, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun meeting the different interns, working in person, going into the office every day, even though I didn't have to. Um, it was a blast, and I learned a ton still, but this was more of an opportunity for me to show that I know my stuff. I know how to create software systems. I know how to talk to people. So it was a great time, and I learned a ton.
Yeah. I use Lyft all the time. So, I use it over Uber and, it's great. So it's cool seeing all the people that work at these companies, So, but I definitely know what you're saying where you learn so much in these internships. It's like your first hands-on experience. So I remember in my first internship, I remember first walking into the open floor and just being just like amazed at like, okay, this is actually what working feels like. So I definitely understand you with that. So you have any like good experiences, some good lessons to share from your time with Lyft from either of the summers that you can remember?
Um, it's just I tell people, take your internship seriously. Really just ask a ton of questions. Like they a lot of people go into the internship thinking, oh, I have to prove myself. You literally have nothing to prove. Like if you're smart, they'll know. They just want you to learn as much as you can. So don't act like, oh, I know what I'm doing and this and that. Be like a kid and just be like, oh, what is this? What is this? Feel free to ask questions. Don't over ask because people still do get annoyed, but just know when to ask, what questions you should ask, because that's also important. You shouldn't be asking questions to answers that you really should know, like fundamental computer science questions, how to do this, how to do that. Like ask questions about why does Lyft use this? Why is this technology? How does this work in the grand scheme of the whole stuff like that? And even from a non-computer science view, you're at a finance job or whatever, just ask a ton of questions, really get ingratiated into the community, into the workplace, and don't don't box yourself into one thing. With the internship, you often think, oh, if I come back to the job, I'm going to be on this team. be open to everything. Don't say, "Oh, I want to do this one thing," which is cool. You can be honest, but just make yourself seem available to do many different things. So them as employers are like, okay, we can put this guy anywhere. We can put this lady anywhere. You know what I mean? So yeah, and have fun. Have fun. It's an experience. You are still a college student. Have fun. If you're in New York, you are in New York. Explore New York. Whatever city that you're in, explore the city, get to know your intern buddies because y'all are in that together, and just have a blast.
Yeah. And I also see that for your first internship it was in Dallas, but you said it was remote. And for your second one you were in Seattle, right? Correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So do you have a good time? So Seattle, what made you also end up moving to you're in San Francisco now, right? Changed
I am.
locations.
I
So did you change that for the job or what brought you to San Francisco?
Yeah, that's a great question. There was a few factors that brought me to San Francisco. Well, to start, I really do love Seattle. Like Seattle's like my favorite city, period. I love Seattle. But what brought me to San Francisco was the fact that my team is here. That's probably the biggest factor. Even though my job is remote, my team is here. I really wanted the in-person experience. I wanted to work at the headquarters. I wanted to try something different. I wanted to be in the tech hub of the world like that. That was a big thing for me. But also, I didn't choose Seattle because of I get seasonal depression. So like the rainy season and stuff like that. Even though I love the city, I know I can't handle that by myself. So yeah, that was the reason.
Yeah. No, also it's just I think that's the problem with remote work a lot of the time because you don't really get as much of a hands-on experience at all because I mean, so you could have done your job like you had the offer to just be remote and not be in the office at all, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, it's just it's a way better feel when you're in person. So I definitely
Agreed.
want to get into your time with Pinterest and everything like that. That's going to be great. But I also want to talk about College Plus. I saw a lot of the pictures from like the SMU Big Ideas contests. I saw you won a bunch of good money there. I think at a different competition. I think it was through SMU, but I'm not exactly sure. And
Yeah.
so, there's so much stuff to touch on. So basically, what is College Plus, if you would explain it?
Yeah, so CollegePlus is a platform dedicated to providing students the resources, information, and guidance that they need to make properly informed decisions about their future in higher education. We at CollegePlus, we believe that a college education, for the sake of improving your life, is there is no equal to getting a college education. If you really want to go to the next level, you really want to make stable money, you really want to have the life for yourself that you want to live. I think college is the best way to do that, and the numbers still prove it. I think, if I'm not mistaken, people who get a college degree get five times the net worth of people who don't. So that in itself, like that should be reason enough to get a college education. We also know that college is very expensive, so we have things on the app that sort of help with that and as well. But just a college education in general, you can get a good cost college education. It is very important for the futures of so many different people that want to make it to the next level.
Yeah. And what I always love about college, besides the income, besides everything, the network you get, like we essentially met through college and I
Right.
met a lot of the other guests I'm having on through college. And it's just the networking is really there's no better place to do it than at college. Everyone's here trying to make the best version of themselves, trying to, get the best job out of college. So there's no better place to network. So I will say that's definitely one of the benefits. And along with the income, I was also looking at the numbers like similar. Like I remember last year I was looking everything up and coming out of college is really your best chance at our age to get a high paying,
Right.
valuable job. So I definitely appreciate that. So
Yeah.
so you've been doing it for it says 4 years and 7 months now. It's been that long.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the next steps? What kind of stage of the game are you at right now with the company? And this is purely out of curiosity, as you know, because I'm building my own company, and so I kind of want to learn more about yours.
No, that's a great question. The next where we are right now, we're in a stage where it kind of can operate in the background because I do have a primary job, but I work on Cost Plus for at least 3 hours every single day. Just trying to improve upon it and just trying to make it the best it could be, make it super stable. So if it just blows up out of nowhere, we can handle it, stuff like that. And the next step for College Plus is we do want to take it to the next level. We want to get a bit of funding. We want to hire people, um, really get marketing going, stuff like that. We believe that at College Plus, we believe that we have something very special on our hands, and we can really positively impact a lot of prospective students. So all we have to do is just tell them, hey, this exists. You can download it. You can use it right now. I don't. I put a ton of work into College Plus during my time in college. That was a time for me to build my network. That was a time for me to hone my skills and really build a very good product. And I feel like I did that. So now it's time for me to actually tell the world, hey, go get it. You know what I mean? So, and it's not like I haven't done that already. We have 5,000 downloads, but we want it to be at who knows 50,000 downloads in the next couple months. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's where we are.
Yeah, so essentially, the software is amazing, but it's more of like a marketing thing at this point. It's just getting the word out there and stuff, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. It's honestly similar to how I feel, with the podcast and everything, trying to get the name out there for the company and everything. But I completely get that. So, what are some good lessons you've learned along the way? I know 4 years, nearly 5 years of building a business could teach you like a lifetime of lessons. So, what would you say are some of the good lessons you've learned along the way?
Oh man, there's a ton of lessons that I've learned. One of those is to not be afraid to ask for help. Um, with a software company, as a software engineer, I kind of take it upon myself. Oh, I'm going to build the whole thing. I'm going to do it all myself, which I did. Saved me a lot of money. But there were times that if I would just ask questions, I would have done a lot of research before I started coding. It would have saved me a lot of time in the long run. So that is one thing. Another thing too is to not take the network for granted. Um, when I won a good amount of money for College Plus, I was going through a very difficult time in my life. So after I put a lot of time into winning the awards that I won, but after I won them, a lot of people were very interested in what I had going on, but it was difficult for me to take advantage of those individuals, the network that I had, because I was just so honed in on one thing because I was in a bad state in my life. So I was just honed in on one thing. If I would have took advantage of that network, I feel like the funding aspect of College Plus would be in a much easier place than it is right now. So just don't take the network for granted. Talk to people every day. We talked about Trevor. Trevor is doing that right now. He's talking to people. He's networking. He's taking advantage of his resources. I saw him on, was it Dallas Morning News or something? So
Yeah,
he's doing
was.
he's doing amazing things, and he just knows how to. Hey, do you know this person? Because this person get me in touch with this person and that. I wish I did that. Or I wish at the very least that I would have got somebody on my team that would do that for me. But you live and you learn. It's never too late for anybody. Like even if you do mess up with your business or you do find that, oh, I should have done this instead. Like, you have more life to live. Your business isn't gonna go defunct tomorrow.
Yeah.
So just keep on with the grind. You can't live in the past. You can only move to the future. So don't dwell on the things that you could have done. What are you going to do now? That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And then the last thing too is it might be hard, but don't compare yourself to other people. Um, you go on LinkedIn and you see all these people doing amazing things, and you might think, oh, I should have been able to do that, or I should be there by now. And it's a never ending spiral. Get out of that mindset and just take your path for what it is. Everybody has a different path to success. Most people don't become millionaires at the age of 20 something. Most people don't become millionaires at the age of 30 something, 40 something, 50 something. Most people don't become millionaires. So just take your life, for what it is, do what you can do to better yourself, and don't compare yourself to other people unless it's motivating, because it can be very detrimental. I go to LinkedIn. When I go to LinkedIn, I'm looking, let me motivate myself. Let me get out of this mindset that I'm in that's complacent. Let me get to where I'm, to the mindset of me being innovative. So but yeah.
Yeah, 100% agree. Comparison is the thief of joy. That's like one of my favorite quotes. And I was even having a conversation with someone yesterday who was talking about literally LinkedIn. It's such a it's a crazy example, but everyone goes on LinkedIn to show their best version of themselves, you know? So it's similar with Instagram. Everyone posts the best photos of themselves. On LinkedIn, everyone shows the best of their career. So if you go on there and you're not there for the right reasons and you're just looking around to see what's everyone else doing and
Right.
how why am I not closing a job at any company in the world that I want, it's just you got to be in your own lane. But those
Yeah.
lessons are super profound, and like even in building the company myself for job toast, I feel the exact same thing. Like don't compare yourself to others, because also like I'm 20 and I see people who are 18 building like multi-million-dollar businesses, and so you could look at that and say, okay, I'm not doing enough or anything like that. But again, comparison is the thief of joy, so I completely get that.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 Entrepreneurship is amazing because I feel like you learn so many lessons because you've been doing it for 5 years, much longer than me, so just along the way you kind of just learn all these little things. And it's also, I'm assuming that you still have like only a few employees, or it's just you. So as you're kind of running the entire operation, you're doing marketing, sales, and in a big company, when you go to Lyft or Pinterest or whatever, you're like one small part of a very specific team and department. But when you go to be a founder, you're literally doing marketing, sales, legal, finance, everything. So it's definitely important. I think it also helps you translates to the corporate world, because you kind of see how the entire life cycle of getting a customer works or anything like that. So super important.
Agreed 100%. It's interesting because the skills you learn in corporate help you with your business and vice versa. So you can like, an entrepreneur in a corporate setting is a very powerful person because they know how to take the business, even if you're a small part. You stand out because everybody else is just kind of doing their part, but you know a lot, and you can execute on a lot of things. And same thing in a business, learning about corporate, learning about stability and structure, you can build a very sound business that way as well. So those skills are not homogenous, but they complement one another.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I also tell a lot of my friends, I think people should start a business just for the experience, not even just to become the next Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or whatever, but just the skills you learn, they transfer into corporate world. And like, as you said, like literally being a part of a team and you have other things going on and you also know how marketing works, everything. So even if you're just doing software engineering, you kind of know the bigger part that is playing at the company. So
I think that's a very sound advice because it also teaches you how to fail and keep going, and that's something that's very important in the corporate world, as well.
yeah. So I guess we could start talking about Pinterest. So actually everyone I know is a big Pinterest user. I don't even need to shout the company out. It's ginormous. My girlfriend the other day was yelling me about, you have to use this Pinterest board to get better outfits. So apparently I'm getting fashion advice from Pinterest. So it's a pretty big company. I use it. Everyone I know uses it. So what do you do there as a software engineer?
No, that's a great question. So I'm a full stack engineer, so I work on basically everything. But I'm on the developer platform team, and what that team does is that you use Pinterest and you can see a pin or a board and stuff like that. Well, there are external developers outside of Pinterest that want to be able to access, let's say for you, they want to access your pins or your boards. So we give them an API, and this API allows them to communicate with Pinterest and get Pinterest data in a safe way, um, through the API. And the developer can now, hey user, can I access your, and you say yes, okay, cool. So that's basically what we work on. And we just want to make the experience as seamless as possible for the external developers, to be as safe for everybody involved, and just to take Pinterest to a new level. Because if you go on a different app and you see that, oh, this app wants to access your Pinterest data so they can do something interesting with your Pinterest data and give you something different. That benefits them and also benefits us. So I work on a lot of that stuff, and it's been a ride, man, because it's a small team. So that gives me the opportunity to just kind of work on so many different things and learn so many different things. And I've worked on, I just started in August. I've worked on, I think I'm on my third project, third or fourth major project. So it's been really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, super cool. And so you also said you were working at the headquarters in San Francisco.
I
Yeah.
am.
So what is that like? I haven't seen the office or anything like that, but I'm assuming it's crazy.
You see,
Yeah.
you see, it's a tech office. Like, if you want to see crazy offices, I can't say Pinterest is a crazy office. Pinterest, compared to the offices I see in the Bay, it's very humble. You probably wouldn't recognize it if you didn't notice the logo outside. But you can look up the LinkedIn office. It's not even the main LinkedIn office. It's an SF. It's crazy. You can look up, obviously the Apple headquarters is crazy, the Google headquarters is crazy. Pinterest in comparison is very humble because they are remote first, so they don't expect a lot of people to go into the office. And second, um, I don't know, Pinterest is they're kind of like a humble company. Like they kind of keep things relatively low key, conspicuous. But the office is sick. I'm not gonna lie. Free food. The food is very good. Snacks, drinks of your choice. Coffee bar. Everything's free. Um, Couches. There's a massage chair on every floor or something like that. It's sick. It's what you expect a tech company to be, but it's also pretty empty because everybody is in their house. So
Yeah. So you're saying the whole company is typically remote first?
yeah, it's a remote first company. So
Okay.
just assume everybody's working remote and in office is kind of a secondary thing.
Yeah. You know what's funny is like, we're both founders, so you kind of know how it is, but it's like, oh, small company, humble company. I'm looking right now, they have like 5,000 plus employees or whatever, and making billions of dollars. But in
Yeah,
San Francisco, the area you're in, you see everything, like probably your neighbor to Pinterest is another multi-billion dollar company. And
yeah,
it's just that's honestly why I understand it's like you want to be out there if you're in tech, especially because we work with a lot of finance students and everything like that, but everyone in tech wants to move out there because just it's the hub of everything. And I know a
yeah,
lot of a lot of tech is moving to like Austin and even Dallas and places like that, but I don't know if it's ever going to replace San Francisco entirely. So I think it's the place to be.
yeah. I agree. I don't foresee anywhere else just outright replacing San Francisco. San Francisco is very unique in the sense that outside of its very obvious issues, people still want to be in San Francisco. And at some point, like people have to admit that legacy is everything. Like it's hard to break legacy. If people see San Francisco as the type place, do you know how much is going to have to go into really building up a place like Austin for it to completely replace San Francisco? So I definitely do agree that I think for a engineer starting out, it's cool to spend a year in San Francisco just to meet all the brilliant people you can meet. And if you do have a startup, it is surprisingly easy to just you're at lunch talking to a coworker and your startup comes up and they're like, "Oh, that sounds really cool. If you want help with that, let me know." Oh, okay. And now you potentially have not an employee, but somebody to really help you with your product, and they might not even expect anything. So it's really cool out here, the culture that's out here.
Yeah, exactly. If the company I was building now wasn't, it helps a lot of finance guys too. So Dallas is probably a great place to be. Like a lot of big banks are coming here. I heard Goldman is building like a $500 million campus here. It's gonna be crazy.
Wow.
But if I was primarily tech, I would definitely go out there. The things you're saying kind of reminds me of New York City. So I'm from New York City. And everyone wants to criticize it here and there, but legacy is everything. It's just big business has been there for hundreds of years. So
Right.
and they're not going to leave. And I'm sure they're building offices in Dallas and stuff like that. We hear those stories all the time, but nothing can really replace New York City or San Francisco or these places that have held the grounds for like 50 plus years, 100
Right.
years. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So what are your goals? You know, you're building College Plus, you're working at Pinterest. Would you say your goals are for the next, year, 2 years, anything you could foresee?
Man, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think I've been thinking about this a lot, actually. What do I want for myself? What do I want to accomplish? And for College Plus, I put myself in an interesting situation in which I make very decent money in my field, and I could continue building up my career and making more and more money and being completely satisfied for the rest of my life. I could. But I am in a situation where I do see more for myself, and I do believe my business has a lot of potential. So it's people often try to tell entrepreneurs that you have to go all in at one point and drop everything else, and that's the only thing. And you know, I believe that at a certain point in your startup's life, you start picking up steam so fast, you definitely do have to drop everything. But I'm just not at that point yet. And sometimes you have to make life decisions like what's going to be the best for me long term. I think working in corporate, I'm learning a ton of things that I wouldn't have learned in a startup. And it's really helping me build my startup and without having to pay a ton of money, without having to give up I haven't given up any equity, and it's really low cost, and I have a product that works really well. And people marketing is probably one of the harder parts in building a business and getting actual customer acquisition. um, but I think I'm in a good place in which if I were to get to the point where I'm like, okay, I want to take this full time, I want to do cost plus full time, it would be easy. Um, because number one, I would have built up enough savings for me to be comfortable doing something like that through my corporate job. And two, um, I would have satisfied my itch to actually do software engineering professionally. And now I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And I have these VCs or angel investors ready to support College Plus and do this. And we want to take College Plus to the moon. Oh, okay. Like that is grounds enough for me to be like, let's do it full time. Let's go uh um full steam ahead. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. For 2024, I really do want to get College Plus to pass the 25,000 download mark and have a very strong active user base as well. Um, I do want to attain a bit of funding, primarily from angel investors within this round. I've been contacting a lot of angel investors and VCs and stuff like that. But it's a tough time right now in the VC world. Hard to get funding. But
Yeah.
and then in the next 2 years, I do foresee myself within the next 2 years transitioning to working, if not on Cost Plus, maybe on another business, maybe. But but yeah.
Yeah. Well, shout out to College Plus.
Thank
That was a good advertisement for it, Um, but like Y Combinator, obviously, and like one of the biggest criteria they look for is like, does the person, the founder, have a lot of experience in the field? And like you've been doing it for so long that when you prioritize it, you do it for 3 hours a day and you're building it now. And with your experience with Pinterest and Lyft and all this stuff, when you decide to go VC route and take money out and everything, it'll be pretty easy for you. I'm sure you're gonna kill it because you have so much experience in the field and you've been doing it for so long. And as you said, like these people want to see, do you have a good product? Like especially in tech, the one thing I know is like you could definitely find an agency to market for you. It's just, do you have a good product? And if you do, then and all you have to do is tell users about it, then you're gonna explode. So it's gonna be big.
No, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
So what do you think your goals are? So you kind of told me like next 2 years, 5 years, whatever. Do you have any plans for, the next 10 years? I know this is like usually the most difficult question I ask, but
Yeah.
do you have any idea what you want to do in by 10 years or, by even the end of your career, what you see for yourself?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. That gets more existential. Like, what is my purpose? You know what I mean? And I truly, humbly believe my purpose is, in one way or another, to make the world a better place. And the way my mind is fixated on doing that now is the importance of education. I believe if you look at any society, the more educated the people are, the better the society is as a whole. So that's how I view myself impacting the world positively, is through getting people more highly educated. But it may come a time where I try to go a different route. I try to, I don't know, clean the oceans. I'm just making something up, right? But for me, money's not the end all be all. Like a lot of people say, I want to make this amount by the end of my. I want to be comfortable. Obviously, by the end of my career, I want to pay for my mom to retire early. The things that everybody wants to do, I want to do stuff like that. I want to make sure that the people around me are comfortable and never have to worry. That's something that I want to do. But my primary goal, if I were to retire at some point, I'm only retiring if I feel satisfied with the impact I left on the world. And if the world, if I can say definitively, the world is a better place after what I've done. That's when I consider what I've done a success.
Yeah. That's amazing, you know. And I also, you know, kind of what you were saying, I've seen so many studies where past, I think the number is like 70 grand or 80 grand in like yearly income, your happiness level and fulfillment doesn't really increase much after that, you know. So because once you hit that, then you know you can live in a nice area, you can live, have a
Right.
nice car, kind of all the good necessities, right? So I want to advise people that just don't get into your career for money. I see so many people doing this, and
Yeah.
especially like at SMU, I see so many people getting these like amazing jobs but are truly only doing it because of the pay and because, you
Yeah.
know, they were told to do it or whatever. I wish people would just get into the career that they want, you know. And I see the stuff you're doing with College Plus and with Pinterest and everything. Like I could just tell that you're enjoying what you're doing, you know, like you're in the area you want to be in. So if I could leave the audience with one thing, it's just to like chase a rabbit of a career that you want, you know, not just something that's just laid out for you.
I hope you continue to tell your peers that, because that's something that is incredibly important for people to hear. Like you said, bro, a lot of people, they get into computer science because, oh, I just heard how much you can pay. I can finally do this. I can finally do that. But they don't really get that. And computer science is very, very difficult. Like a lot of these people that are success stories, they do it because A, maybe they're just geniuses, but two, they have a real passion for it and they will put in the hours out of enjoyment alone, and then comes to success later. It's very rare that you find somebody who hates computer science that is okay at it, that just does stellar in computer science. It's I rarely see it. So yeah, I would 100% echo your point. Do what you enjoy doing, because I agree. I think you'll find more fulfillment long term with
Yeah.
that, as opposed to just forcing something because you think it's going to pay a lot, you know?
Yeah. No, tech is super difficult, you know. And I don't think people realize how many hours it takes. Like people love to throw around names like Mark Zuckerberg or whatever. And like, you know, Mark Zuckerberg dropped out of college or whatever. So people are like, oh, what do you need college for? To be like Mark Zuckerberg. He worked 100, he dropped out to work like 120 hours a week
Yeah,
to build this once in a lifetime project. Like people don't
right.
realize how much effort it takes, but at the end of the day, like he probably did it because he loved it, you know. So I think
Exactly.
if people can chase their dreams and maybe working 120 hours a week isn't going to be that difficult because you just love every hour you're working.
Exactly.
So
Agreed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we can kind of wrap up on a couple more questions. So what would you say are some daily habits that you do for your career and for, you know, either staying involved with like, you know, the latest trends in San Francisco or business or whatever that you think other people should kind of start having?
That's a great question. One thing that I try to do daily is just give myself a moment of peace. Um, just take a moment of silence, just understand, just reevaluate yourself every day. Because if you're in tune with yourself, life will be much easier to live. Your job will be much easier to do. Stuff like that. You'll know what to do next. Because a lot of people just, they find themselves, oh, I'm sad, but I have to keep going and doing this, and they get stuck in a rut, and they never leave their situation that's making them sad, because they never take the time to just, what do I want? Who am I? What are my desires? This and that. So just taking the time every day just to think. Um, and I take walks every day as well. I take in the sun. I look at the city that I'm in. San Francisco is very beautiful, regardless of what people have to say. So I just take walks, and just I don't take things for granted. The life that I live, I don't take it for granted. Life could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
The next thing too is I read articles for my field. I go on Google News and my feed is full of computer science stuff, and I just read in the mornings and stuff like that. And before I go to bed, sometimes I just read articles about, I read about finance too, because I'm an investor. So I read about finance. What are people saying about this? What's going on here? And that kind of determines, how I invest and stuff like that. And the next thing is I just prioritize what things I want to do today. One thing about me is that I try to be as disciplined as I can in every regard. So I try to spend as little money as possible. Not as little money as possible. I try to be as frugal as I can be without sacrificing the life that I want to live, if that makes sense. So I cook as much as I can. I eat at the office whenever I can, stuff like that. So I just prioritize I prioritize what I want to do in the day. Um, and I make those things happen. I don't try to stay in the house. I don't get caught up watching Netflix or stuff like that, or scrolling on TikTok. I really figure out what am I doing today, and just getting out of the house and talking to people, and working on my app. And yeah, that's pretty much it, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny. When I brought on the last guest, shout out Jihoon, he was telling me that when I asked him the same question, what he told me was reading the Morning Brew, to get ahead in your career, he stays involved by reading the Morning Brew, working out and like having good relationships with like people and networking and everything. And so it seems to be like a common trend, to get ahead in your career, definitely work out, stay ahead of the news and, just be healthy.
Yeah, I definitely recommend working out for sure. That'll
Yeah.
just do things that put you on a routine that give you discipline. Because working out and being fully employed, it's a delicate balance. Because sometimes you just want to go home. I'm so tired. Making yourself go to the gym. No, I'm not. I'm not skipping today. That is so crucial, so fundamental for you to being a good entrepreneur, because there are so many things in entrepreneurship that you will not feel like doing that you will have to do for the sake of your business. So just building up that discipline is incredibly important.
Yeah. And then, as the company Job Toast is really trying to help students and other people kind of find their job and get a good internship, get a good job and whatever. What do you think is some good career advice you would give to the audience for either discovering what their job or their passion is, or strategies to actually land the jobs that they want?
Good question. Figuring out what you want to do. Um, that's interesting. Um, I mean, it's going to take some self-discovery, obviously. I feel like most people know what they enjoy, but it's also like going to take a bit of realism as well. It's not just what you enjoy, but also what you're good at. Like there is a balance, You can't be passionate about singing and be horrible at singing and try to pursue that career, you know what I mean? So having the balance of what am I good at, but also what I enjoy, put those together, that's your career. Boom, like that's it. You're going to make a good amount of money. You're going to be very stable, and that's the magic recipe. So it's going to take a lot of self-discovery, a lot of exploration, some experimenting. If you're in school, that's a place to do it. You know what I mean? So you have your general education credits that you have to do. So take the liberty, or you can be an undecided major. Take the liberty of just exploring different things that you may potentially be good at, what comes the most natural, and what you also don't mind or enjoy, and just find a delicate balance. And in terms of actually getting the internship, getting the job, oh man, I could talk about this for a while, because crazy enough, I used to help people get jobs. Like I've helped quite a few people with interviewing strategies, and just how to be a good candidate for a job. And what I always tell them is, remember that your interviewer is a human being first, and an interviewer second, if that makes sense. So people have their biases. We're human beings. Like if I interview somebody, I'm likely gonna I'm likely gonna push a candidate forward that is similar to me. You know, that's
Yeah.
natural. Somebody that's, lighthearted, funny, is comfortable talking to people, stuff like that. That's just it's a subconscious bias. As much as you try to fight it, you should try to fight it. Obviously, you want to be as objective as you can be, but it's impossible to completely alleviate yourself of your biases. So just talking to your interviewer like a human being, not trying to be too robotic because you're a human being and they understand that. So just if you mess up, roll with the punches. Whenever I interviewed, I took it seriously, but I didn't in the sense that if I took it too seriously, I would have been rigid, I would have been nervous, like, oh, I'm sorry I didn't. I was just like, oh, I forgot this, and I'll laugh, and they were like, oh, that's okay, and we both got comfortable because I didn't take it too seriously, but I also I knew what I was doing, and I let them know, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it, being extra communicative, like I said, not taking yourself too seriously, talking to the interviewer like a human being, and asking great questions. Ask great questions at the end. I always advise them to get your interviewer to talk about themselves because one thing about human beings, we love talking about ourselves, right? So I ask the interviewer, oh, like, what does your day look like? Basic question. Or what are your three favorite things about working at this company? You as an individual, or um, just like things that get them to talk about themselves. Like I would tell them, make your questions interesting and make it seem like, oh, you're just so interested and you're so clever. And do not run out of questions. Make them stop you. Do not stop the questions. Have them be like, oh, we don't really have that much time anymore. That is perfect because they know that first, you know your stuff, and two, that you're really, really interested in the job. And I guess last thing is the job that you're going for, make sure that you know everything about it. You know the company, what they do, the interview itself, if it's software engineering, if it's finance, know your stuff, know it. And if you don't know it, admit that you don't know it. There's no harm in just telling them straight up, yeah, honestly, like I wouldn't know how to approach this problem. Is there an alternative? Ask for help. You might not get the job, but it was better than you trying to fake it because interviewers know fakers. If you weren't going to get the job, you definitely not going to get the job if you fake it, and they obviously know that you're faking. So might as well just fess up. So, and they might take that as humility and might credit you for even like telling them straight up, yeah, unfortunately, I don't know that, etc. So, yeah, that's my advice.
Bro, that is amazing advice. And also when I was even, trying to plan out the podcast, I tried so hard to think about, okay, how should I present myself and be real and all this stuff. But then I realized when I get on these calls, like I have a couple scheduled, I had a conversation before this with you, and even getting on the phone with you, I realized people would rather me be authentic. Like people don't want me to come on here and try to use fancy words. They want me to present myself as I am, and I think same thing with interviewing. It's like if you try to portray some like a person that you're not, they're going to know. It's so
Yeah,
obvious and you can't fake it. So, and yeah, if you mess something up or you forget something, they're a human, like they are not perfect
exactly.
too,
Right.
they were obviously once sitting in your seat trying to interview for the job, so they know
Yeah,
exactly how it is. So
exactly.
that's great advice. And so honestly, I mean, if there's anything else, and by the way, one other thing, I think a lot of people they get the question of, "Oh, do you have any questions at this time?" And they just say nope, and that's it, and they leave the interview. And the truth is, I think honestly, if people have the humility, they have a billion questions. They want to know what their day is like. They want
Right.
to know everything about the job because most likely you can't discover everything in a 30-minute interview or even a research before. There's so many things that they probably said during the interview that you have questions about. Maybe you didn't write it down or whatever, but being able to be fine and authentic at asking a question, even if it might sound dumb, which I think is a reason why a lot of people don't ask it. But I
Yeah.
think that's super important. I've actually never heard that from a lot of people before, so that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
And my actual last thing is interviewing has a lot to do with luck. A lot to do with luck. Whenever I interview, like for software engineering, you can do as much studying as you can. There are some things you are just not going to know because of time and because you forget. I got lucky that I didn't get asked questions that I didn't know. That's luck. A lot of people don't consider that, but that's really lucky. And two, like sometimes, like I said, the interviewer is a human being. They just have a bad day. And that really sucks for you because you kind of have to pick up their slack because they're having a bad day. So now the odds are stacked against you. You could just you all you can do is what you can do. And luck, if the luck is in your favor, you get the job. If it isn't, that sucks. But that's just something that you have to accept when you interview. It's a ton of luck, a lot of luck, unfortunately.
Yeah. And you said in the beginning, you helped a couple of your friends get jobs. So where are they all working right now? And also, how many people have you helped? So I mean, I'm also just curious because like with the last guy we brought on, Jihoon, he was like a career consultant for Hagi. So he had seen like 150 people come through, and I'm wondering what your experience is with that, with like advising people on their jobs and stuff.
That's a great question. Yeah, I got my girlfriend. I didn't get it. She got it for herself. But I would do interview practices with her, and I would just coach her like, um, you sound like you're thinking too hard on that one, or that question doesn't sound genuine, or this and that. Or we would have her, I'll ask a question. Yeah, can you talk about your resume? And she would talk about it. I'm like, oh, you got to do it this way and this way. So stuff like that. So I helped her get a job at Levi's. That's where she works now. She got her first internship. That's when I was really helping her. And then I helped quite a few people in computer science to get jobs. I'm blanking. I also helped her sister, my girlfriend's sister. I helped her interview and get a job. Um, Dang, I'm blanking.
No, you're
No,
completely good. Yeah, you're good.
because I was the president of NSBE, which is the National
Hmm.
Society of Black Engineers, and one of the aspects of my role that I took upon myself was I'm gonna try to help a lot of these people get internships because that's a market success. Like we want them to get the most out of their experience in this organization. So I would help them. I would do interviewing tips and tricks, and I'll look at the resumes. That's one thing I do as well. I look at resumes, and I'm like, oh, you need to give us more detail on this and that, cool formatting stuff. So I would help them with their interviews. A lot of them got internships as well, and I also hosted a interview prep workshop. I think junior year. At that point, like I felt comfortable enough, like having gone through the last round of interviews for internships and landing quite a few offers, um, not quite a few, but anyways, I felt comfortable enough telling people, okay, these are things I did for success. So I hosted something, and I think it was very helpful because a lot of them did go on to get those internships and get those jobs, which is that's their success in their own right. I can't even claim that or what I did help them or anything like that. But I do help people with
But
interviews,
you
and
were
most
involved in their journey and helping them
yeah,
and stuff. Yeah.
I try to keep up with them just to make sure that they're successful because I really do care about other people's success.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I definitely think the keys to landing a job, it's more simple than I think people realize. I think it's just being authentic and then just, upgrading either your skills or your ability to do the job. So I definitely think that's definitely great advice. And uh do you have like any sort of strategies you would use for besides interviewing to either like find a job like using LinkedIn or something like that, or any strategies that come to the top of your mind for finding one or, finding the employer or whatnot?
That's a great question. One underrated one that somebody kind of told me about was you should message recruiters like sometimes it's just applying to the job isn't enough because there are a lot of people that apply to the job unless your resumes just stand out like crazy resume. you should reach out to recruiters on LinkedIn. You can look up the company, Google recruiters, and it'll show you a list, and you just connect and give a little note. Hey, and you got to be as honest as possible. They know BS. They're recruiters. You got to be on some. Hey, I noticed that this position is available. You dropped the link. I would love to apply. I'm a senior at XY University. I study computer science, and it's been a difficult journey finding. So I would love an opportunity to potentially have my resume, whatever. And a lot of the time they hook you up. The fact that you took the opportunity to email them and try to, they'll hook you up. So also look for referrals if you can. There are networks and platforms on the internet in which you can look up and find people who work at the companies, and they'll just put in a referral for people. Even me, like people go ask me on LinkedIn all the time, hey, I noticed this job at Pinterest. Do you mind referring me? I don't mind at all. It takes me like 30 seconds. And it helps them get their resume past the first obstacle. And if it takes 30 seconds out of my day, like I'll be more than happy to do that for somebody who's looking for a job for a couple months potentially. So, to take the liberty to just message people and ask for help. There's no harm in that. And
Yeah, I not to interrupt you, but I was going to say, another huge thing that I've started to learn the last couple of years is I wish people could just realize asking for help, you never know who's going to help you. It's if there's so many people that are out there that are willing to help you, like as you said, people are probably afraid to ask for the referral or whatever, but most people are willing to help. Like Steve
yeah,
Jobs, one of his like most famous stories was it was a CEO of a major company at the time, and his number was just in the phone book, and he was like 10 years old, and he called, asked for a job. And obviously the guy said no, but he was like, when you get older, come to us. And I think at like age 15, 16, he got an internship with him. It's just because he called him that one time. And I
yeah,
think, as he literally said in the video, it's like people are too afraid to ask for help. And you just have to have the courage to pick up the phone and ask. So I think that's
agreed.
just a huge thing. Not to interrupt you, I know you're making a point, but
No, yeah, that was a great point you just made. I agree 100%. And even within that, like a lot of people have too much pride to ask the people close to them that have leverage for help. Like I know a couple people that have parents who are friends with people at these companies in relatively high positions, and they don't want to ask them because, oh, I want to do it on my own or this and that. Bro, like finding a job is hard. You do not have the most people don't have the luxury of, oh, I'm not gonna take this blessed opportunity because there's something I have to prove to myself. Bro, everybody needed help at some point, like to get where they're at. The most successful people needed help at some point. You think Jeff Bezos made Amazon with the money in his pocket? No way. He asked people for help. So swallow your pride, or just take the liberty of, hey, I know this person that knows this person. Do you mind getting me in touch? That'll do wonders for you. So
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
people are afraid to ask for help, but at the end of the day, I mean, you got to ask someone for help, and so it's either you're either going to try to convince the recruiter, or you can, finding a job is already so hard. You're already swimming
yeah,
upstream. Why would you make it harder on yourself?
exactly.
Like we went to SMU. There's so many like powerful families that we've been friends with and stuff.
Yeah.
So you might, yeah, it's annoying and maybe a little awkward to ask your friend, but if that little awkward interaction is going to lead to a huge job for you, I think they would rather go through that. So.
Oh yeah, agreed. And speaking of SMU, if you're in college, your network is your college. Ask your professors. My little sister, she goes to U Miami. She gets she told me like, oh, her professors send her job opportunities weekly. And these are professors, yeah, she's in real estate and she
Mhm.
does finance too at U Miami. And her professors just send her jobs, and her professors are like well established in these industries. So they know people who know people. So they put her in the best position for herself to succeed. So take advantage. I did that one time too. I went up to my professor who worked at, there's a ton of CS professors that work at local Dallas tech companies and places like that. And I would just ask if they have opportunities for a job. And they would be like, I'll look into that and I'll get back to, and they sometimes they get back, sometimes they're busy and have to follow up and stuff like that. But it's better to try that than not try. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, and to all the college students, your professors are probably more willing to help than anyone. Like
Yeah,
shout out
yeah,
to Simon Mack. You definitely know him through like the Big Ideas competition. I remember I had never asked a professor for help with like my business or whatever, but he was like kind of the king of entrepreneurship at SMU, and that's what I've been told. So I went to his office and he gave me great advice and referred me to a lot of people. So I mean, if you're at college and you have an entire, army of professors who are there trying to help you within your major, they know people in the field, and most likely they've worked at big companies and had big
yeah,
jobs before, so they know people. So definitely ask your
exactly,
professors.
exactly.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, I mean, this has been a great conversation. Is there anything else, like a couple last thoughts you want to leave the audience with, or I think we covered it all?
Yeah, I think we did a great job, and I just want to commend you on this podcast and what you got going on, man. I think you're doing great. You're a great host, and I really hope your future endeavors and everything you got going on. I hope for great success in what you got going on.
Man, I really appreciate it. I hope to bring you back on sometime soon. This was a great conversation. I feel like we got a lot more to talk about. So,
Yeah, sounds
whenever
good.
you want to come back on, let me know.
Sounds good. We'll do. Yeah.